Sometimes, especially when actors I think are newer in their career, they'll be like, well, why isn't my agent picking up the phone on everything? And like, why aren't they working harder on getting me in the room? And it could be...
Hey everyone, we're going to get to the episode in just a minute, but if I could borrow your time for just a second right before, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching this series. If you guys are liking these episodes, please just smash that like button below. If you're enjoying the series or want to see the next episodes or not miss an episode, please hit subscribe and share. Share it with your friends, your family, your actor friends, anyone you can. I will keep making these videos for you guys as long as you guys keep liking them, all right? And also, most importantly, if there are any other offices that you haven't heard from, that you want to hear from, or questions that you want me to ask that I haven't asked, or follow-up questions, I'm running out of questions myself, so please give me new questions. Give me questions, things you want to hear, just leave them in the comments below. I will respond to every comment, and I will try to get all your questions in the next round of interviews. We got a couple more episodes. We're going to finish out this season, 22 episodes, and then I will start my next round once it's safe to start interviewing people again. And or maybe do like Zoom interviews or Instagram Live for the next batch. But I have a bunch more people lined up, and I'm always open and willing to suggestions of who you guys want to hear from. I want this to be a collaborative effort. The series has changed a lot, episode 1 to episode now, so it's continually evolving, and I'm open to any suggestions you guys have. That's all I gotta say. Enjoy those last few episodes, and I appreciate you guys all your love and support. Once again, like the videos, subscribe, share, comment, do all those fun things. Please, thank you so much. And without further ado, here's the next episode.
Good.
I
Alright.
like it.
Alright. Hello! We're back for a final intro round. I don't know what this accent is. Trying different voices. We're back. And back!
Because yes.
Hello! We are back.
Do you want to talk about pet peeves?
Hello! Hello! Cameron.
Because
Yeah.
I love bitching about things. That's my favorite thing.
Let's bitch!
Great.
Bitch time! Pet peeves!
Yes.
Go. Lightning
the
round.
Yes. Okay. Chief among them, if you have an appointment, if you're gonna come crazy early, you gotta let somebody know. We'll have actors sometimes come like an hour and a half early, and they're like, I was in the neighborhood, and it's like, I get it, and people have lives. Maybe you're gambling on the fact that the session window is different, but like if you're at the top of it, we might be in the middle of another one with producers on a different show. We'll talk about this all the time. Like you wouldn't do that in a job interview, and when you're coming into audition, it's a job interview.
Right.
So what are you doing? That's my big
Or
thing.
like ask your agents, what's the window? Can I come in earlier?
Exactly. And if we can accommodate it, of course we will, because we understand people are human beings. We understand that, you know, if you're getting like a next day or something like that, you have a life to lead and like are trying to move things around. Totally get that. It's never a problem to ask, but please ask. Please ask. So that's the biggest one, I would say.
Okay. What else you got?
Okay. Probably the other big one, which is more on the creative side, is and again, understanding that people get material last minute, you know, life to lead, all those things. Be prepared for your audition. It sounds like not a big deal, but the amount of times people will come in and it's clear that either they don't know the material or have done no homework. If it's a show that already exists, like to not know the tone. Watch, even if you don't have time to watch a whole episode, watch like a couple minutes, you know, just something. Given that we've talked about like it's already such a big deal to get in the room given how many people are submitted for things, because that's submissions on breakdown, much less people getting pitched. You know, which is a whole other ball game. So when you come in and you're not prepared, you're taking a space away from somebody else.
Right.
Because like then you're not going to get considered. You're not doing good work. It's shitty all around. So
yeah,
those are probably my top 2.
Any like pet peeves of the office in general? Like maybe not you, but like everyone's pet peeves or Wendy's?
I would say that those are definitely general. Particularly the time thing is a huge office-wide pet peeve because we're a busy office, are juggling a lot of balls. The days tend to be very busy. So when somebody just shows up, it's tough. Yeah, so I would say that that's probably the biggest office-wide. But I would say preparedness is everybody's too. I would dare venture that it's probably across casting offices. Like if you were to just ask a casting person in general, what are some things that make you unhappy? I would say that those are probably two big things. You don't have to like be completely off book, whatever, because again, we understand that people are busy and are living lives. But to like sort of know the words, to like sort of know the scene, to have some sense of, okay, am I going in for a single cam or a multicam? Is this a drama? Is this... And like, sometimes things are weird tonally, in which case you can ask questions. Please ask questions, because as much as we can be on the same page, that's great. But we can also tell. I'm sure you've had that experience too, when people come in and you can tell. You obviously just looked at this in the waiting room and don't know what's going on.
Just like having choices. It's like more important to have like choices, right? Than like being completely off book. Like,
yes. Yeah. So I'd much rather someone come in with a point of view. And we understand, because we may be one of, 3 or 4 auditions that you have in a day or something, that like you may not have the time. And that's fine. Just enough to know it well enough that being on the page is not going to hinder your performance. But yes, I would definitely agree that making choices is a bigger deal.
What about office etiquette kind of things? So you said you might have a few things.
Oh, I mean, my big one was time.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and also, again, to just read the room of what's happening. Sometimes we love to talk to people in between and whatever, but like if they're 5 phone lines ringing and people running around and stuff, then maybe that's not going to be the most appropriate time. But that's just any human being. That's not casting etiquette. That's just be a person.
How do you feel about using props in a room?
For me, I don't think you need them, but if it makes you more comfortable, if there's a scene on a phone and you want to use a phone, that's fine. Or like a clipboard, whatever. Like, I feel like you don't have to be Carrot Top, with like 1,000 things, but I feel like as long as it's not distracting, it's fine with me.
What about like talking, conversation kind of thing?
Yeah, that's, I mean, a little bit of chit chat is fine too, like, because we're humans and like, we want to know what's going on with you. Sometimes I feel like it also helps people relax, so that's nice too. Again, you just want to be conscientious of what's going on around you. Like, if it's a full waiting room, then maybe you don't want to talk for 20 minutes. But like in general, I never understand the casting offices that have people come in and it's kind of stone-faced and in out and whatever. But also, if we're not talking, that doesn't mean that we're not interested. It could just be a time thing. We want to be warm and kind.
How do you feel about actors giving you guys gifts for random reasons versus like booking a part versus like... Yeah,
so I am not a fan of gifts for no reason. Because like actors already aren't making any money, and like we're not, there's like, I feel like an expectation of reciprocity. I just prefer not. Well, the gesture is lovely, but if you book something, that's a little different, and you don't have to go crazy. But even just like a thank you card is so appreciated. But gifts are never necessary. They're appreciated when someone has booked something or whatever. Yeah. But otherwise, save your dollars.
What makes someone stand out for you in the room?
Oh, that's such a good question. I wish that there was a laundry list that you could do, because then they would happily present it. But it is interesting when you can tell. I've only had the experience maybe 2 or 3 times, but when someone just comes in and you're like, that's it. And sometimes even before they start talking,
And it's just a feeling. It's just a thing.
Exactly.
Like the presence, the essence, the confidence.
Yeah, confidence. I think having a clear point of view, knowing what you want from the material, being open. Preparedness does often feed into that, because it gives you the tools to be able to have that point of view. But for me, it's knowing it, and then sometimes just, wow, they're an amazing fit.
What about like when you're going through breakdowns and you're like picking people to call in, like what makes them stand out from the masses of 3,500 down to the 20 that get, or 10 that get a shot?
Right. Well, sometimes, it'll be people I know, we have relationships with. Right. But if it's people that I don't know,
new people,
a compelling headshot, an interesting face. Sometimes it's going through the resumes and seeing you've been on a couple sets that are sort of akin to what we're doing, so we know that you'll be fine when you get there. I think it's kind of a mix, and then it's also the puzzle pieces of when curating the group that you want to bring in, that there aren't too many people who are exactly the same, that everybody's going to be bringing something new and a different flavor, whether that is aesthetically or from their experience or kind of a mix.
Do you both go through the breakdown? You and Wendy?
It kind of depends on the role and the project and all those things.
I'll go through and like click everyone that I think could be right and or I know or whatever, and then I'll go back through and do a second pass.
And that's what we do too, is like we do a first pass and then whittle it down into a second.
So like, let's say you pick like a couple people that are the same flavor.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, yeah, which one of these do I want to?
Yeah.
Which one of this?
Right, and sometimes it's both. Sometimes you're like, whatever, like we'll just,
No, they won't.
Yeah, but sometimes, it's like the first pass, and then, okay, if we can only have one or two of this type,
Right.
who this time is going to be the best choice.
And what makes a headshot compelling for you?
Again, it's just one of those unquantifiables in some way, but I suppose, it's really helpful if it actually looks like you. You wouldn't know until later. But I think often it's something in the eyes, which is kind of, again, an intangible, but like you just see something behind them a little bit. I'm not as concerned with, like this background, or when people have 8,000 headshots and they're like, I have to have one in a lab coat so I can be a scientist, or I don't need any of that stuff. I can use my imagination to figure that out. I think it's a big question because it's, again, like, what about who a person speaks to you?
And
like
it's
sometimes
different per person,
it
different
is,
per office.
and sometimes you're just drawn to
Right.
people in different ways. So I know that's not like super helpful in terms of practical advice, but
what is your taste? Like, what are some actors you like?
so my favorite actor is David Tennant.
Okay.
Who I love British television. Like I said, I come from an acting background, but I love classical acting. So I love people with chops and like have studied the craft, and that's not universal. Like there are some people who like there are comedians I love, coming in done whatever. But in terms of like, if I were to build a perfect actor, the training. I also get drawn to character-y actors. Like I like people who are like a little weird, a little offbeat. And I would say that in general, not just training aside, but just have like just a little quirk or something I just find compelling as a person.
Yeah.
Have a love of it and really like digging into it.
How do you feel about self-tape?
Like unsolicited self-tapes?
Yes. Yeah. If they get the sides and like somehow can send it to you.
I don't love them because I feel like part of our job is to know who's going to be right. And yes, there's the question of like, well, how are you going to know that if you don't know me? But as perhaps we'll talk about in a little bit, there are ways to get yourself known. But it also, underhanded is too strong of a word, I think. But like for me, it ends up being kind of white noise because we know what we're trying to get from it already. Now, sometimes there are different situations. If it's something we've been looking for a while, or it's something really specific, then maybe.
Yeah.
But if it's like waitress or something like that, it's like we've got enough.
Right.
We can figure that out. So it's sort of, I would say, a case by case, and there would be exceptions, but in general, I am not a fan.
Let's talk about pitching. Aside from getting actors submitted on breakdowns, just tell me a little bit about. I know, but
right. But
tell us about pitching.
We tend to get pitches on the bigger roles, right? Like not as much on the co-stars. For example, if we're on a pilot and we're looking for a series regular, the people who will make it on the lists are, a mix of people who get submitted, ideas that we as a casting office have had, ideas that the producers, the directors, whoever have had, like of the creatives involved, and then agents and managers will submit their talent by, if not on breakdown, then email pitches, or they'll call us and say like, hey, you really need to take a look at this person. They just did XYZ, which is like, kind of similar, or like they're going to blow up in a big way because of whatever. Yes. And in terms of pitches, they can be really helpful, but again, it's based on the relationship that we have with the agent and manager. And there are some who will call for the same client for like literally every breakdown and every role. And you're like, then I can't trust it, right? Because like, I know who your actor is, but that's doing them a disservice because that becomes white noise. What makes this one so different from all the other ones? Like I can't trust it, versus the agents and managers with whom I have good relationships and whose taste I trust are the ones who are more targeted, and they're like, hey,
like she'll pitch like one person, she'll have read the script, she'll like give you like A, B, and C as to why this person is like
so all of those traits, exactly, like where they know the client that they're pitching and what they can do, they know the material, they know the world, and they've given me good ideas before. They'll say like, hey, I know you like this person, great, that kind of stuff. So knowing their client, knowing the material, knowing our taste as well, like all of it. And in those cases, pitching can be enormously helpful. But
so a good thing for actors to know would be to like kind of know who your reps have good relationships with, make sure your reps have good relationships with the kind of shows that you want to be going in for.
Yes, and I think also because sometimes, especially when actors I think are newer in their career, they'll be like, well, why isn't my agent picking up the phone on everything and like, why aren't they working harder on getting me in the room? And it could be that they're trying to be more calculated about it, and that just a blanket of like someone who's just going to knock on every door isn't maybe the solution that you think it could be.
Right. Let's talk about how important comedy experience is for comedies for you. And if someone's like a dramatic actor and trying to get into comedy, or vice versa, a comedic actor trying to get into drama, because you guys do both kind of things in your office, like how important is that? And then also, where do you go to find? Do you see shows? Do you go to comedy things? Blah, blah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. First question, in terms of comedy, drama, comedy. In terms of going back and forth, I would say if you're someone who I don't know and I'm just looking at a breakdown, then yes, that's going to be important resume-wise. Like, have you been on a comedy set? You know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if we've brought you in for something and you're in the room and you're like, you know, I come in for comedy all the time, but I just want to let you know that I'd be interested. Or I feel like it's more often the other way because we don't always know that somebody's funny.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, you know, I've done a lot of drama work, but like I would love to be on a half hour, you know, whatever. 100% tell us, because sometimes that hasn't occurred to us and we're like, okay, great. I would say it's important that you communicate, if you are known as one, to tell us that you might be interested in the other, because we may not know otherwise.
Or even have your agent be like,
yes, even if you don't
like
feel comfortable doing that in the room.
a little, they can write notes in their submissions
yes.
too, a little note at the bottom.
Yeah, so if you are more comfortable communicating via your agent, that's fine.
Yeah.
While we may think about people for one or the other more often, we're not going to pigeonhole, be like, I don't think so. If they're interested and like we see that they have the chops to do it, then I'm 1,000% open to it, like going back and forth. I love going to see things. I'll go to comedy occasionally. I love going to plays. I feel like there's a bigger scene in LA of stage work than people think sometimes. Love to go see plays. I'll go to a comedy occasionally. I'll go see improv sometimes. And then this won't necessarily be as relevant for the people watching this video, but again, loving British actors and that sort of thing. I'll also go to
we have like maybe 3 British
right,
followers.
But like but going to see plays, you know, the national or things like that will broadcast, but like I love going to see live theater. I don't go as often as I'd like to, especially when it's, you know, like a pilot or something, but I try to go. How
do you feel about postcards, or actors sending you postcards in general, or like, hey, I'm in a play?
Right, so I think when it's something targeted, like I'm in a show, please come see this thing, I think that's great. Or, you know, hey, my episode of whatever's airing, sure. But if it's just like a hey, what's up, then I kind of feel like that's a waste of actors' money. I don't know if like big postcards going to come to my house now, you know, but especially the thing, I don't know where this rumor started that like if you mail the postcard in the envelope, you know, that's a good idea because then someone's more likely to look at it. It's a waste of time and paper. Yeah. You know what I mean? I do look at every postcard that gets sent to me. Like, so nothing, so nothing goes straight into recycling or anything like that. But I really only find them useful if they're for something specific, like a play or a comedy show, or if you somehow fit a role that we're looking to cast right at that moment that is also very specific. But other than that, I feel like they're not that helpful.
How do you feel about drop-offs? People coming and dropping off?
In our lobby, we have like a metal wash tub for those and we pick up drop-offs every day from that. I don't love as much when people will ring the bell, interrupt the day to drop things off, and then expect to have a conversation and stuff just because things are busy and it's just like not appropriate time-wise. But in terms of if people are like, hey, I have a headshot, can I leave it? It's fine. Yeah. You know.
Do you guys look through them?
Yeah. Like I said, everything gets looked at. Things get kept if, you know, people are right and whatever. Yeah. But it's just, you know, being respectful.
Any other ways that people, like, that maybe you guys don't know, can people get on your office's radar?
We'll go to shows occasionally.
Do you go to those showcases? Like the diversity showcases?
I often don't get the chance just because they're in the middle of the day. And usually, you know, there's stuff going on. But
well, they're really far from you guys, too.
They are. We're on the west side, so it's a bit of a hike. But in theory, I would love to go to those. I feel like in general, if you're just concentrating on putting good work out there, people talk, we'll tend to find people continue being proactive in terms of you know, making content, being in things, that sort of thing.
When you guys get new projects, does Wendy meet on them? Do you go in?
Yeah, those are still rather a mystery to me. I am usually not involved in those meetings.
But she gets a lot of repeat work, I feel like.
Yes, which is very nice. I mean, she's been doing this forever, right? So she's had the chance to build relationships with these directors and producers and studios that will often get approached, which is great. And we've been really, really lucky in the people who we've gotten to work with. So it's kind of nice.
Do you guys keep like a naughty list of bad actors?
Not a physical list as such, but yeah, I mean, you know, people have come in before like drunk for auditions or things like that. And when it's something really egregious or have done something like horrific on set, then it's like, right. But it's more, I would say, behavioral issues than rather than just like this person was bad. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So like if they were like maybe not the best audition, they're for the
right.
day,
No, because exactly. That's not gonna tank you for the office forever. You know what I mean? Like we understand people have off days. It's something egregious rather than just like, oh, I had a bad day.
Social media. How do you feel about social media? People reaching out to you via social media.
Social media.
Right. I don't have a very big social media presence. I'm like not even on Instagram.
I know. I was looking at her. I was like, where's her Instagram? I gotta follow her, and she wasn't there.
I know. I'm on Facebook. I have a Twitter that I really like lurk and like follow other things. I don't post much, but if you do want to connect to me on social media, I guess you could find me on Twitter, which is my last name Aughton, first name Laura. Social media in general, I don't care that much about. And like actors will often ask, well, how important is it that I have, you know, this many followers and whatever? And I can think of one show that I wasn't even on, but was like exposed to in the office where that was a thing. But otherwise, it hasn't really mattered.
Yeah.
Granted, you know, now some of the bigger agencies are representing social media figures and like it's a whole thing in and of itself. But for me personally,
but also I feel like you still, even if they represent you, you still gotta have the goods to back up.
You do.
Like, being a personality and being an actor are very different things.
They're so different. I wish everybody understood that.
Yeah, but they don't.
But no, there are some social media personalities who are wonderful actors.
Yeah, there are people that do them both well, and there are people that don't.
Mm-hmm.
Any other things that you, like, any advice you would want to give actors starting out, in the middle of it, and like down on themselves because it's been a while, or keep laughing, have fun?
Some people may find this comforting, some may find it not as much, but there is so much in the casting process that is out of the actor's control. And someone may be amazing and do the best work ever, and for whatever reason it's just not going to go their way. So what you can control is the work you're doing, and just trust that the work is good and continue honing your craft and just being the best actor you can, and hopefully it'll pay off. But immediately, I think if you don't get a role, sometimes it's you go to like, well, what could I have done? And sometimes the answer is nothing. To trust that the work is good and to keep doing it, because eventually the stars will align and it'll work out.
Anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to...
Yeah, maybe some jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
That's all I got. But I'll vamp for days. Let's go pet your dog.
Thank you so much for
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
I appreciate it. You guys, she is the sweetest and the best person to read for. She's so lovely and warm in the room. Don't
yes!
forget. I'm just going to try in the shot for the end.
This is honestly why I agreed to come do this. So. Yes.
Hello. These are the real star. Do you guys ever do castings for dogs?
I wish. We're in the same union as the
Yeah.
Wranglers. That's my next calling.
You want to be on TV? Yeah.
Hi, friend. Can you just have a show of people coming and petting your dog? Sign me up. Oh my goodness.
Oh, he's gonna hump.
Yep.
You want to hump? No hump.
Bye. Bye. Wow.